Tirico didn't bring his beer glass with him. Thank you very much, Carter. I'm glad someone loves Sean McDonough, because I certainly don't. You know, when Carter called, and he and Mary said, we'd like to have you come up and pay homage to Sean, you know, I was thrilled, obviously. But then I found out that they asked Jay Billis first. And Jay was on vacation with Mark Emmert and couldn't be here. And then, of course, the obvious choice would be Dick Vitale. And, you know, Mike is with the USA basketball team, Mike Krzyzewski, and Dick is busy in Durham taking care of his lawn and taking out the garbage. You're sort of stuck with me, kid. I love coming to Syracuse, and I love it even more when Boeheim is out of town. And you know, every time we come up and do a ball game, you go in the back, and I just thought tonight, I don't have to go in the back of the dome and be bored to tears listening to his pregame analysis. I saw him in the Garden this week, and I actually saw him smiling. At first I thought it was gas, but then I saw Carmelo Anthony was in the crowd, so it brings back great memories for him. But, you know, I put some notes down simply because you don't get this many opportunities to talk about somebody that is so talented and a great broadcaster whose commentary enhances the action we see. His legendary calls set him apart from many talented play-by-play men. His style and grace reflect his understanding of the event he's covering, as well as the respect for those who are participating. Well, that's enough about Mike Tirico. Jay loves the story. I came back from a Saturday afternoon with Vern Lundquist, a real pro, I might add. We're having dinner after the game on Monday night, and Jay said, hey, you guys must have a ball. Yeah, I do. You know, he has a drink, and he pays for it once in a while. And he said, well, Sean said, well, what do you guys talk about? I said, well, you know, the other night we talked about all the great play-by-play men in this country. And your name didn't come up at all. You know, my wife Joan said, where are you going? I said, we're going up to Syracuse for, they're honoring Sean McDonough. She said, is that the guy that bitches all the time? Actually, as a youngster, he was thinking of going into the priesthood. And he was going to be a monk. And he did get in. Didn't have very big requirements, obviously. But, you know, every couple of years, they let him come out and speak 2 words in this particular order. You couldn't speak to anybody, just prayed. And he came out and he said, food stinks. A couple of years later, he comes back out, bed's hard. And then a couple of years later, he comes out and he says, I quit. And the bishop said, good, you've been bitching for 12 years. You know, he possesses an irresistible charm. He does a marvelous job of concealing it as well. You know, you might say he embraces people who have little to say, or who say a little in a very small amount of time, as most of his partners would agree. His idea of a good partner on air is one who is knowledgeable, personable, and insightful, and exhibits those characteristics during timeouts. And he's really worked hard at becoming humble, but not with a great deal of vigor or success, I might add. Now, he was a great athlete as a kid. In fact, I had the pleasure of recruiting him in his heyday. And we used to send out these questionnaires, and I got one back, and Hadi Mahan, who worked with me, said, you got to read this, kids. So, you know, you've heard some of these things with kids. He had them all. It's like, you know, church, you know, red brick, church preference, red brick, length of residence, 190 and 50. Boards, college boards, you put 7 a game. And then it says sex, male or female. Sean said, once. In Poughkeepsie, New York. I really needed the location. But we gave him, Seton Hall, we have high standards, as you well know. Very difficult to get into that passion of higher education. So we gave him the caramel test. And we put him in a room, closed the door, and put a caramel with a wrapper on it. And we just had him sit there for a while. And the deal was, if he ate it with the wrapper on, it was an athletic scholarship. If he took the wrapper off, it was academic. Sean got an athletic scholarship. You know, one of the biggest thrills for, I think, all of us was the 6 overtime game win over UConn. Let's hear it for the kids. Sean was absolutely brilliant, and he asked me, he said, what did your wife say? You know, you were out till early in the morning the next day. And I said, it's the only time that Joan wasn't mad at me for being out that late in New York. But a lot of records were set that night. Longest amount of time Jay and I had to kiss Sean's ass. Set the record for the amount of times that Sean mentioned Syracuse, the Harvard of Western New York. Jim and his lovely wife, Julie. That addresses him. And please, someone control Jim Calhoun. And last but not least, that was a terrible call. That was my Carl Hess. He was not fond of him. But I must say, with all the shortcomings, this may stand out overall. Many of you heard the no-fly zone. And all our years together, Jay, Sean, and I had our post-game dinners. Jay and I called them Sean's no-pay zone. However, nevertheless, he was a great believer in team. Unfortunately, he spelled it T-I-I-M, versus he believed in making sure he was the center of the game. His ego never ruined the broadcast. Just yours got bruised a little. Sean is a versatile, I gotta be nice now, versatile and talented as any on-air personality. He possesses a total understanding of his craft. He is a consummate performer. He has an amazing knowledge of the sport he is assigned to cover. His recall and dissemination of all his preparation is always appropriately delivered. His sophisticated sense of humor evokes smiles due to his style, his facile mind, and his sense of timing. For example, in Maui, as Carter mentioned earlier, there was a young man on the foul line about to shoot a free throw, and the camera zoomed in, and the young man was missing his middle finger from a childhood accident. And Sean shared this story in a very emotional fashion. And just as he was ready to release the ball, he said, the sad part about this, the young man will never be able to drive in Boston. Fortunately, it was 3 in the morning back in Bristol, and he got mine. But to me, it's not his abilities on air. It's really about his love and devotion to his family. The reverence he has had for his late dad, Will, has shown me the love and affection that he has for Will, as well as the impact Dad had in shaping his career. His connection with his sister Erin and their work on his foundation speaks volumes about their character and the responsibilities they have to community. His foundation has given countless Boston area youngsters an opportunity to take advantage of their talents and prosper into valuable citizens in that particular town. He takes tremendous pride in his brother Ryan, who has grown into a dynamite head of the basketball operations for the Phoenix Suns. But more importantly, this tough Mick from the Commonwealth has become one of my closest friends. And I have the deepest admiration for him professionally and personally. He is as good a representative that the Qs could have in society. You have a man in the broadcasting arena who you can be extremely proud of as one of yours, a true Hall of Famer, Sean McDonough. Thank you.